Ah, the summer days. The days I spent in that office weren't like any summer I would ever have. Someday, I would look back on that summer and think to myself, this was the best summer of my life. I'd always think about that summer, again and again and again.
Garnet, summer's over. Will you stop that?
Dude, whatever, man. You're telling me. I was wondering what was so exciting about all those summers.
Alright, Jason, you ready for a real man's fighting game? Whatever. This is it, man. Virtua Fighter is the 3D game that started everything. It's the most hardcore, timing, skill, technical, deep fighting game. Soul Calibur's pretty good, but this is it. So we should bet some money.
Alright, what do you got?
$2 and a nickel.
$2. Alright.
Let's do it, let's do it.
Alright, got you $2.
Boom!
Oh yeah, first you're gonna get into one already.
Oh, you're all slow. It's a real man's game. Your little Sophia shenanigans is gonna put here. Wish I had some real competition. Like Milky, he's good. Che used to be awesome. I mean, Che won this machine in the last tournament. He actually beat me. 30-second time limits. So as much as Milky will make fun of me, it's a good idea to get more health and just run away. You win. A victory is still a victory. That's it, man. You're dead. I guess that's all mine now, isn't it? I can go buy myself like a Jamba Juice.
We'll play double or nothing later.
You can bet with this. Here's a nickel. Let's see how it is. That's right, Jason. Nobody beats me.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. You might have to move over.
It's been a long time, James Milky.
I think your bullshit tactics are about to go down, Shane Bettenhausen.
We'll see. Fast. Fuck.
Oh.
Whoa.
Just like old times. But just 'cause you got a hit in, you think you're bad?
We suck, man. Come on, rematch. We just started playing.
You want more of this? You're gonna have to come to Sega's VF5 tournament.
All right, I will fight you at the tournament.
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is Fallout 2 already. Is that a little soon?
Well, Fallout 2, we started the design for that game before the first one was finished, so it was in the planning stages while the Fallout 1 was still going on, and we wanted to make it on the PlayStation 3. So again, it was planned from the beginning to be a launch title. We didn't obviously know when that was until earlier this year, but it was always planned to be on the PlayStation 3 as a launch title. You know, we wanted to add deathmatch, and that was a huge part, a huge request for the first game was, you know, arena modes and deathmatch. So.
With the deathmatch. Where did you go for your inspiration for that? I mean, did you look at like other car combat games or first-person shooters?
A lot of our inspiration for deathmatch did come from first-person shooters as well as other car combat games. We also wanted to add our own flavors to it. So again, that's why we have things like Base Assault. So a little bit of a twist on some of the more traditional things you might expect from a multiplayer car combat game.
How much from the original Full Auto is being reused? I mean, are there any of the same tracks, any of the old assets?
Yeah, so talking about stuff from Full Auto 1 that's carried over to Full Auto 2, we have 27 cars in the game. 6 of those are new. We've taken some of the cars from Full Auto 1. We've done some adjustments visually to the cars. We've given them new skins and things like that, but then we've also obviously adjusted the attributes of the cars and handling and things like that. From a track standpoint, we have 14 of the original tracks. We have 13 new tracks and arenas that we've added. And then, even the tracks that we've brought over, a lot of them have received significant facelifts just in terms of visual content, but we wanted to add the element of destruction in, the Destruction Matters element we've been calling it, which is essentially when you blow stuff up in the world, now it means something. It doesn't just look cool, it actually has an effect on gameplay. So we've gone back into the levels that are coming over from Full Auto 1 and added in destruction elements that mean something, that block off paths, that can get kills within the world.
Was the game originally intended to be a full sequel from day one? I think I remember when it was originally announced, I didn't remember seeing a number at the end.
We've intended it to be a full sequel. I mean, and I think that the amount of content that we're putting in, just in terms of new game modes, for example, it is a full sequel. We've added a ton of new stuff in terms of multiplayer, the deathmatch, Base Assault. We have some other stuff we haven't even talked about today, and as well as a completely revamped campaign mode, which again, that'll be something we'll be talking about in the next few weeks. But there is significant new content in the game. So
I saw you got your PS3 dead kits finally. How much different is it working with the PS3 than 360?
Well, working with the PS3, it's really a complex piece of hardware. It's similar in some ways to the 360, just in that regard. It's a very powerful machine. It's complex, but there's no big surprises on what we actually had to do from a development standpoint. It's been fairly straightforward. It is just the complication of working on a new hardware platform that's evolving as the game is going on in development. So those were really the biggest risks for us, but everything's going great, and we're actually in a stage where we're now optimizing and just really trying to get as much out of the PlayStation 3 as we can.
How are you guys planning on using the tilt functionality?
The tilt functionality on the PlayStation 3 controller, we have some design elements that we're going to incorporate. We're not talking about exactly what that stuff is yet. We're really just fine-tuning it and tweaking with it right now before we kind of unveil it to everybody and let people play with it.
Any plans for a Wii version?
As far as other consoles are concerned right now, again, this is a PlayStation 3 launch exclusive, and as I mentioned, we want the Full Auto franchise to live on all the platforms. Don't want to confirm or deny anything, but it could be in the future.
Damn it! Never gonna win it.
Is that how you're gonna play in a tournament, Shane?
No. What do you know about this game?
I know you need to practice.
I am practicing.
Not like this, like a man.
Please tell me you're playing Rhythm Heaven.
I
A
am
game
playing
I
Rhythm
know.
Heaven.
I just got destroyed by Milky at Virtua Fighter. It was
Oh,
terrible.
that's terrible. You should never play Virtua Fighter with Milky.
No.
It's asking to cry.
Yeah.
Although actually this game is kind of, I think if I hear anyone sing "Don Don Pan Pan" again, I'm just gonna
That song was in
bust
my head.
out in tears.
It is exactly what you'd expect it to be, which is WarioWare with like rhythm gaming elements.
Yeah, I keep trying to find a way to describe Rhythm Heaven without talking about WarioWare, and it's just impossible because
Pretty much is.
the WarioWare vibe just permeates the entire game.
They're like the WarioWare boss battles. You know, most of the WarioWare mini games are something that take place over the course of about 10 seconds, and the boss battles take like, you know, usually 30 seconds to a minute, and most of the games in Rhythm Heaven seem to take about that long and are about that complex.
That's true. Yeah, WarioWare is it's almost about how quickly your brain can adapt to a changing situation, whereas
Right.
this is more like how well you can fit into a groove and adapt to a rhythm that changes up a little bit.
Definitely.
So it's a little bit similar, but I don't know, the pacing is not as fast and rapid fire. You're not changing rapidly.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going as the beat evolves and the music changes.
Right. You know, it is kind of set up the way that WarioWare is set up, where you, you know, choose a little icon, and then from that icon it launches you into a game.
Definitely.
Every stage, you know, every level is set up with like 5 or 6 different games, and then once you get to the end, like you said, you get to do the remix, which mixes all the parts that you've just played together into one new song, which
Right,
is what I think is cool. Some of the games do get pretty cool. Like there's one that really is visually reminiscent of Bib Ribbon, where you kind of are hopping along a little path. Do you remember when you were explaining the battle system in Mother 3, and you were talking about how you have to nod your head?
A lot of that.
You have to do the same thing on a bunch of the games. Like there's the one. Did you get to the one where there's ghosts that pop up and down behind a fence? The interesting thing about that one is that you're used to following the music, you know, or the soundtrack from the game. You know, listen to that to find the rhythm. Certain times during that stage, the sound will drop out completely,
Right,
so you have to be
keep that beat.
keeping the beat yourself. Or, you know, using the visuals. You know, that's the other thing.
But the
It's
visuals
like,
don't always work either, because sometimes the graphics darken out, and so you're playing blind, and you just have to go entirely by the sound, or even, you know, the sound and graphics both drop out, then you just have to kind of close your eyes and keep the beat in your head.
you're never using the exact same part of your brain the whole time, you know, like there is, even though it's so simple, even though most of the games use 1 button or maybe 2 buttons, maybe, the variety is so awesome. It's,
Yeah, no,
it's just
that's my
like
favorite thing
WarioWare,
about the game.
you know.
I think Rhythm Heaven is a really natural extension, just kind of an evolution of what the Wario team has been doing ever since the GBA launched.
Sure.
I mean, if you look back at Wario Land 4, the music in that game was really, really unique. It's some of the best music on the system, and they were more than happy to put in like these nice, intricate vocal themes, very happy and lilting. Then, like, they just distort the hell out of those themes whenever Wario got fat or whatever. So, you know, sound has always played a big element.
The fact that WarioWare was, the first game was so unique, so good, and then Twisted came out and it presented a whole new way to play it. And then, of course, the DS version presented a new way to play it. You can see the same sort of evolution happening with Rhythm Heaven, where like, oh, just adding the stylus would add like this new element of play,
yeah,
or
I
like
could
using
see
the
this
Wii
being adapted.
controller, you know.
If you could play it, you know, like wirelessly on DS or online or something, that would add even another dimension.
Oh, that's true.
Where you start putting other players into the mix.
Hadn't even
because
thought about
one of the more interesting elements of the music in this is that, you know, there will be some times when you're following a beat and then the beat will kind of drop out, but you still have to follow it while a backbeat plays.
Right.
And it's really hard to stay focused on that one beat while the backbeat is going.
Right.
I think it's a really unique take on the music game genre. Usually you have one style of gameplay, like you have Parappa where you're rapping, or you have Guitar Hero, or Guitaru Man, or Guitar Hero, I guess, where you're playing guitar in different ways. But in this, it's a different event every time. There's dozens of different approaches to music, and the one unifying element is just kind of the WarioWare quirkiness.
And the fact that you have to have some sort of semblance of rhythm to be
Yeah,
able
I'm
to
not the
even
most
play it.
coordinated guy.
It's so simple but so fun, you know?
And that's what I like about it. This is a really challenging game. Like, I'm having a tough time with it, but at the same time, I've never been frustrated with it because it's built around like a simple set of rules for each individual game, and you have to adapt to those rules and then adapt as the rules change. But it's always a gradual, natural evolution.
Right.
And I really, really appreciate that because it's like, I don't know, when I fail, I know it's my fault.
Right.
And that's so much better than so many other games that I've played where, like, you always feel like the failing is the game's fault. Like, it's poor design, sloppy graphics, sloppy hit detection, that kind of thing, limited controls.
I kind of know what you mean.
Yeah, man, I can't stand that kind of thing.
I can't deal with
But
games
Rhythm
like
Heaven
that.
is exactly the opposite. I really dig that.
What you playing there?
What's up, man? Ghouls and Ghosts.
Well, I could have guessed by the...
Ghosts and Goblins. I keep calling it Ghouls and Ghosts, yeah. Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins got the import. So the difficulty, obviously, is what a lot of people. It's going to be the first thing, and probably like the only thing some people see about this game because it's so freaking hard. Were you playing it on normal?
I played on normal.
Yeah.
I tried on hard once.
Yeah.
It quickly ran away from that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a game so hard in probably a couple of years. Not like Devil May Cry 3, or Ninja Gaiden.
It's nice, yeah, like Ninja Gaiden. Like, it's nice that it gives you the different levels. There's like novice, which you get a ton of guys. You start off powered up. It is easier, but still hard. And then medium, which is just basically like the normal game, which is very hard. And then hard mode is like old school Ghouls and Ghosts, where when you die, you start back at the beginning of the level. Even on normal, people were like, everybody thought, oh, you respawn like right where you die, like, oh, that's gonna be easy, but it's not. I was playing normal like a ton, and if I were to go back to it, honestly, I'd probably maybe go back on novice level just to save myself.
Enjoy it a little bit more because I think Jeremy did put it well. He made up some new swears playing this game. And the thing is, it's a hard that's not satisfying when you beat it. They're relentless. Enemies appear in thin air, hit you mid-jump.
That's where we're going to disagree. Okay, that is true, and they respawn, and they keep coming. You're not used to this. And they're flying in all these irregular directions, but you are on the controls are very old school. It's you jump, you're committed once you jump, you can double jump, but
you can't turn or move when you jump. When you jump, you're set in that motion, whether it's straight up or left or right.
And that's
it's a
huge.
Set.
And then when you get hit, you also fall back. And that combined with immediate instant death everywhere is like a recipe for swear words. But here is the thing, like, I think for all our talking about difficulty, like, it's almost unapologetically made for fans of the earlier games. Like, you have to memorize the levels. You have to know where the enemies are coming from. Your first time through, you just die. People are comparing it to R-Type, and I think that's a really good comparison because okay, when I get to this, this tree, 2 enemies come from here, 1 comes from here. I have to have this weapon. I have to jump twice, shoot that, jump over here. There's tons of secrets. You know, yeah, just like little chests hidden everywhere. Like it was a minor thing in the earlier games, but in this one, they're really like all over the place.
It's not so much fun, this memorization, especially when you memorize something, but the random appearing enemies, that almost eliminates that factor too.
That is true.
Especially if you're trying to like search every inch for a hidden chest.
And you almost, honestly, you have to have some of the power-ups that you can only get later in the game to really play the game. Like there's, which is a cool thing, which is an addition. You know, they did make some great additions.
Like in the first level, you essentially need the flying shield to get some of these things, which you just don't have for the first couple of worlds.
It forces you to go back.
And that's the thing, that it forces you to.
I actually had to go back like 3 or 4 times to some levels, because even after you come back with the more powerful weapons, with the different shields, they're still really hard to find. You have to like trigger certain platforms and that triggers something else. A lot of them you're just flying up and grabbing, but a lot of them are like really, you know,
you have to like fall off a cliff, then save yourself and fly up and hit it on your way up or something. You know, if you put a lot of time into this, there's a lot to dig out of it.
Yeah, there's a lot to find, and it forces you to do that again, not just by the difficulty, but also those freaking gold rings, which,
oh, dude, kill me. That stuff.
Yeah, the gold
It's horrible.
Rings, I know. Okay, that part was a little uncalled for.
Is it spoiling anything by saying if you get to the end without enough rings, you're going back?
You're gonna see these gold rings. They're way out of the way. They're way up. They're way over pits, and you're like, can you even get that power up? It's right on top of spikes. There's no way to get it. And then you get to the end, and it says, no, you need. There's like 33 total of these hidden gold rings. You need 22 to even fight the last boss.
And that was a surprise I did not want to see. You have like 5 lives to begin a level. And those go pretty fast. Like you might throw away 3 of them getting one of these rings. And then you have 2 more to beat the rest of the level.
You still have to finish the level to get the ring.
It's tough on its own right. Granted, it should be easier the second or third time through, but... It's not fun. And so you were kind of the lover on it.
I was the lover on it, but I'd still make it really clear to anyone that I recommend it. And I would recommend it to fans of the old games, that you've got to be able to have that mentality where you're like, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna play the level again and again and again until I memorize it, and then you get the fun out of executing this perfect, you know, play through levels that you've learned.
When I beat a level, it was more a sense of relief. I'm like, thank God this is over. I can't wait to move on. I want to finish this game. And I didn't hate it. I really like the graphics.
The graphics are
beautiful.
One of the best looking PSP games. Like that level with all of the it looks like wheat or something almost. Is unbelievably gorgeous.
And the music was really good too.
The music's good. It's got the old theme. It's got like a bunch of new music. The bosses are pretty cool. Like the bosses are all.
For the most part. I'm a pretty stubborn gamer. I will soldier my way through games, even if I really am not loving them, especially for review. And this game was just so brutal to me. I don't know why I kept going back. You know, it's like, again, for review purposes I did, but I don't know if I would stick through it if I just happened to, let's say, rent this. You know, I don't like you, you don't like me, but let's get this done with, you know? I want to put you on my checklist, I want to get that notch, you know?
I understand, like, people who put this game down and don't want anything to do with it. Like Ryan was that way, actually, when he's like, oh, cool, I want to check this out. And then, like, probably an hour later brought it back and was like, I never need to do, I don't want anything to do with that game. And I totally understood. I wasn't like, no, but you can't. It's just, there's definitely going to be those people out there. This is a really, like, I think a love it or hate it type of game. As much as I curse the game, and anybody who watches me play it is like, it's just you screaming like obscenities one after the other. Or how can you say you like enjoy that game? It still kept me coming back. Like it was like a challenge.
So the idea is that Perplex City is very much like, our world. It's set about 10 or 15 years, further into the future. But the big difference between Perplex City and Earth is that they're really into puzzles.
Hey, Karen. Okay, yeah, I'm coming right now. I'll let you guys in. Hey, what's up, guys? What's up?
I don't know, I feel like sometimes I can be really bossy and really bitchy.
I was the only one who brought a laptop, so I was doing some of the Google searching, and
I end up being the one who's like, oh, I think it's from a book.
I kind of introduced people to the game. I was doing a lot of assigning people to different tasks. We were assigned puzzles as a team, which were a combination of logic problems, looking at things online, and scavenger hunts around the city.
I was kind of stressed out and I was a little bit edgy, but I would like to think I'm more of the guide person, I guess, for the local map stuff and the map puzzles.
So we had our team. We used basically lifelines, calling friends around.
That seems really weird. I think there's
just mean how many turns
I
you
heard
make.
I heard someone talking about a maze in the cathedral.
That sounds more likely to me.
Keep connected.
Divvied up problems and scattered.
How much is it?
50.
Karen and I got the wrong answer. We drove all the way to that church with the labyrinth. We were supposed to find a picture that we saw between the 19th and 20th turns. We did those, and we saw a memorial to the first 2 world wars. And so we tried both those answers, and it didn't work out.
Perplex City has been watching Earth for decades. They could tap into our radio signals, they could listen to our radio, they could watch our TV, and recently they could go and access our internet. So it's been a kind of one-way thing, and people in Perplex City know a lot about Earth. But when they lost their most valuable treasure, the cube, to Earth, instead of just watching, they decided to get in contact and try and get help to find the cube and return it back to them. So, Perplex City has known about us for a long time, but Earth is just finding out about Perplex City.
This little tiny church, and this is after we went to Grace Cathedral, which was a huge church. We found this little church, and the riddle was to go to this intersection, and you will see a place that is alliance with Denmark or Finland, and a Star Trek villain. And you're just sort of like, what? And then we got to the intersection and we're just scoping around. We're like, what could it be? And it turns out it was this little church. It was called Swedenborg. So we stormed in. We're like, yay, we found the church and we're going into Swedenborg. And it turns out we stepped in the courtyard and there was a wedding reception. And everybody was really puzzled. We were kind of like, oops. And then they were sort of like, who are these people? Bryce just went ahead. He made a beeline for the fountain, looked at the statue, came back, was like, it's a bird! Like, okay! And then we just left and stormed out. We're like, good job, well done. So that was my favorite one. I thought it was really clever. We're almost on our way. We're almost there. Okay, bye. See ya. Yeah, let me sing next to this fountain so I can see.
So something for Edward apart.
When everybody got into the room there at the end and was helping everybody, you know, everybody was helping everybody else solve, like just pretty much brute force, you know, solve the puzzles. Did you solve this? Or, you know, oh, the answer to that, you know, I didn't see that puzzle before, but this is how you would solve it. That was really cool.
One of the kind of stock moments that makes alternate reality games different from, you know, any kind of other game is that you have these moments where you can interact with the characters. And I mean, this was one-sided. This was a message coming to us, but you know, still, it's that moment of connection where you're like, oh, you know, for a minute I'm buying into the idea that like, oh, there are these people and they really want us to help them find their like box, basically.
People of Earth, hello. My name is Sente Kite.
And then of course, like suddenly, everyone's cell phone in the room rings.
Wormhole. Originating here and terminating somewhere.
And that, I gotta say, you know, like just kudos to that, guys. Because like, you know, like it's one thing when you're like, oh, my cell phone, what an inconvenient time for a cell phone call. And then you realize that like Bryce's phone is ringing and you know, Karen's phone is ringing and like everybody's phone is ringing and the message, go outside, we're the bad guys, the third power, you know, we're a step ahead of you, we know where you are, you know, threatening messages, all this stuff. And then just like the rush for the door as everyone's desperately trying to get outside, get the clue, find out what's going on. And
you just start seeing people I don't know, I don't even know what the verb is for it, just like leap across people in the auditorium, just like running outside and like bursting the doors open.
There's a guy, he was in trouble, he should come outside immediately.
No, it was a message from the third power.
Yeah.
Saying, Sente's always a step behind us, I'll give you a chance to catch up. Look outside. Cable car?
Helicopters.
Whoa!
What the players are trying to do now is they're trying to find a cube, which is buried somewhere in the world. But now, the problem is that they have people from Perplex City who are also trying to do that. So I guess there are really two objectives. One is to find the cube, and the other is to stop the third power from finding it first. So all the sort of characters who we've been working with, all the good guys, they're in trouble now. And it's a race against time to stop the bad guys and find the cube.
come to this.
Why are you taking my spot, bitch?